united.
We'll never be divided.
It's one of the most polarizing issues facing our state and country today. And with a renewed presidential push to detain and deport undocumented immigrants.
Since taking office, my administration has launched the most sweeping border and immigration crackdown in American history.
Texas leaders are also looking for more enforcement opportunities, they say, to combat crime.
To support that mission, I've ordered Texas state agencies to assist the Trump administration to arrest, jail, and deport illegal immigrants.
No, we need to see your warrant.
Sweeping moves critics say hurt some communities.
This distrust can lead to decreased crime reporting, reduced witness cooperation,
and affect our economy, healthcare, and schools.
We understand that we need to reform our immigration system.
Through multiple reports on air and online, we take a closer look at Texas immigration impact in a new Trump era. In recent months, we've seen detainment centers popping up city after city. Immigration raids and mass arrests are making headlines. Fear for some, policy decisions for others. This topic is divisive and frankly too big to tackle every angle. But we've put our entire team to work for this Kxan Investigative special. We're telling the stories of how that shift is shaping Texas, often agreements quietly signed between federal and local law enforcement agencies. To understand that aspect, we started our digging far from the capital city, in an area where such arrangements have existed for years. So we're heading about 6 hours outside of Austin, which is West Texas, right along the border. It's among the most desolate stretches along the U.S.-Mexico border.
Border checkpoint?
Yeah, I think it is a border checkpoint. The last bit of civilization, 25 miles from the Rio Grande. The only highway around, teeming with border patrol at every turn.
Hello. Gentlemen, immigration inspection. Everybody on board United States citizen?
Terrell County, Texas is one of the least populated counties in America. So sparse, the county seat isn't even incorporated. Sanderson's city limit, population 654. For years, residents have been quietly conscious of their proximity to politics.
A lot of sympathy for people who want to better their lives, but probably an anxiety of the violence coming through here. Also aware of the great poverty that is pushing people into all of our country.
But now, under President Trump's new administration, they're bracing for change, as some local law enforcement predicts a rise in illegal immigration here soon.
We need to protect our borders, but I also, recognize that everybody's human.
It comes as federal and state enforcement efforts increase elsewhere, potentially pushing passage to this rough part of the border.
I think it's a tough place to safely cross into the United States here. It's a harsh environment.
Do you get questions from tourists about immigration?
Yes, I urge them to go to our cemetery. We have a section that is all unlabeled mounds of where immigrants have been found, and they've buried them. They couldn't find family, they couldn't find any ID on them.
Still, most here never come that close to encountering anyone on their own.
It's definitely a topic of discussion, mostly with the ranchers having migrants coming through their property.
The sprawling ranches between the town and the river are often the first to see signs of those who survive.
This is a real hot spot right here. It leads into a canyon to where they can kind of, conceal themselves.
Crossings are currently down, here and along the entire southern border.
We had to pile up rocks because it's such a vulnerable place for a predator to get in, and what they do is they cut it, the coyote comes through and then lifts up one side of it, and they just come scampering under here.
This isolated acreage is one place with evidence of a recent increase in activity.
What kind of challenges does it present for you when the fence does get broken or torn up?
I can lose my guard dogs, the goats can get out, and these animals can get in a lot easier. It takes an army to fix it like it was when it was brand new. And it's It's devastating to me, you know, it's heartbreaking.
I anticipated we would start seeing more activity out here because those urban environments where we see the majority of those apprehensions, I figured it would push them this way. But we had a group 2 days ago that was detected on some of their camera systems. It's been so windy, a lot of times it'll blow out any dirt footprints or any sign that's left behind by the people. We often rely on our landowners to be our eyes and ears in these locations.
Their cooperation is also how Sheriff Thaddeus Cleveland accesses this private land, some of the most remote on the border. Once through, he and his 2 deputies rely on Border Patrol and their state partners to help them find and catch anyone here illegally.
It's really all of us working together, Texas Department of Public Safety, Highway Patrol troopers, Parks and Wildlife game wardens, and then Texas military forces that have been down here deployed in the county. So Terrell County, we have 54 miles of border with Mexico. We'll go on south of here to go down to the river, see an area that's actually utilized by illegal aliens to make their entry in the United States.
So where are we right now?
So this particular area is an area that we have seen a recent uptick in people crossing the border illegally, specifically right here at what we call Bone Water. We're at the Rio Grande River where there's some water for people to drink, but once they get north of this area, if they don't know where they're going or they don't have a guide that's leading them the way, then they may not have water for days. From that point, they can either be picked up there by a smuggler who's coming from another part of Texas or even coming from another state.
A former Border Patrol agent himself, Sheriff Cleveland has helped recover bodies in the desert and rescued others lost and barely alive.
¿Cómo? Mi estómago. ¿Qué? ¿No traes tantita agua que me regales? ¿Cómo? Agua. Sí, yo tengo agua.
We saw 6 backpackers carrying the big backpacks. They're drug runners.
No, they're not.
But even with longtime locals, he says there's often still a misconception about who's crossing here.
We haven't had a drug seizure in 5 years.
Well, what the hell are they? What?
Clothes, food.
What has drug seizure been like here?
I can look anybody in the eye and tell them that it's not crossing here.
So who are most of the people who are crossing in your county?
Out here, we typically catch accompanied juveniles. That means they're with their father, their brother, an uncle, something like that. But again, the vast majority are people no different than us that are coming north to work. But I've also apprehended those that do have criminal records. They're those that committed crimes in the United States, and of course, that's what this administration said they were going to target.
One tool Terrell County has to detect that, an agreement with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE. It's called a 287G, a program allowing local and state agencies to enforce federal immigration law. Here specifically in the county jail.
It allows a deputy to get training, and then we'll have a computer system that they can enroll people that we catch to see if they've been previously apprehended and to find out where they're from. And if they're not from the United States, then we can hold that person for ICE.
Our digital investigative project, Undocumented. There you can also learn how we crowdsourced for viewer stories, check out the Spanish translations of our reports, and listen to our podcast episode on this topic. Plus, explore more than a dozen stories we produced to take a closer look at the impact in Texas. It's all online now at kxan.com/undocumented. Since late last year, Texas hospitals have been asking patients if they are U.S. citizens. It's an executive order from Governor Greg Abbott. He says to learn the cost of care for undocumented patients, and early data just released reveals a 1-month snapshot from November when the state said there were at least 30,000 undocumented patient visits recorded statewide, costing nearly $119 million, with some hospitals yet to report. As the data collection continues, investigator Arezow Doost learned who's worried about long-term health impacts.
For months, we've called and emailed dozens of clinics and hospitals in Central Texas asking about health impacts if immigrants living here are wary of going to their doctor or the ER, and what guidance has been provided if ICE agents show up. There was a common theme: silence and hesitation to speak or attract attention, except from a few like the Luis D. Atabey Midwifery Project, or LAMP, the Community Reproductive Health Clinic, created to meet the needs of people of color, tells me since hospitals started asking the citizenship question, Many clients are delaying care or even avoiding emergency treatment.
People are fearful.
It doesn't surprise the Texas Civil Rights Project, which has been educating people about their rights following Governor Greg Abbott's executive order.
Work to put out resources to let people know in the community that they have a right to decline to answer this question about their citizenship status.
We're trying to gather information, so first we can determine the magnitude of the challenge that we face.
Hospitals must tell patients their response will not impact receiving quality care, and personal information will not be reported. Still, it's even caught some citizens off guard.
Are you a U.S. citizen or lawful in the United States? Yes, no, or no response.
Shannon Jamrock says she was surprised to see the question at Dell Children's Medical Center in North Austin. She'd rushed her son to the ER in March after he fell off his bike and hurt his wrist.
It was asked right away before we could sign any other documents to get him seen. I just feel it's uncalled for. I don't understand the point of it. I don't understand why any child needs to have that answer to receive care.
What was your response?
I clicked no response. You know, you seek emergency care for your child and have them have their citizenship questioned when they walk in the door. It takes you back. Why does that matter? Who are you going to tell?
We asked Dell Children's repeatedly about the question and the data the hospital is collecting, but they directed us to the Texas Hospital Association. In a statement, THA told us, in part, hospitals are required by law to treat anyone who comes through the door, regardless of ability to pay, regardless of their demographics. The fact that hospitals are required to collect this data should not be a deterrent for people in need of care.
Quorum's present.
During a recent hearing at the Capitol, THA told state lawmakers it had concerns with proposed related legislation.
We would like the legislation to affirmatively state that we are not required to verify patients' answers, and then due to the threat of potential security concerns among hospitals that treat a high number of undocumented persons, we would respectfully request that individual hospitals' reports be exempt from public information disclosure so they will not be targeted.
Lawmakers this session have considered solidifying the required question and the rules surrounding it beyond the governor's order and into state law.
It's a simple question that's being asked, and their care is not being affected.
If you choose not to tell your immigration status, then people know you didn't tell it, and then they think maybe you're hiding it. So like for me, if I went to the doctor, I wouldn't fill it out because ain't nobody's business. I need for the doctor to pay attention to my health, not whether I'm a U.S. citizen.
The hospitals are not reporting any individual information to us.
You know, there's no positive duty to disclose that information to ICE, but neither is there any guarantee that it couldn't happen.
Florida has required the question by law since 2023. Last year, it reported less than 1% of hospital and emergency room patients who answered its question were undocumented, out of more than 12.4 million total patients statewide. Throughout all of 2024, hospitals provided nearly $660 million in health care services to those undocumented patients, out of nearly $87 billion spent on all patients.
It is such a small percentage.
State Representative Solomon Lalani, a doctor in the Houston area, has been watching the data and in an op-ed after Texas's order shared concerns.
Texans are not coming forward, so out of fear, they're not taking care of their illnesses, they're not managing their chronic problems, and it is becoming an emergency overall.
What does this mean for health outcomes in Texas?
People are not taking care of or managing their diabetes or heart failure or blood pressure medicines. But then, you know, on top of it, the psychic, somatic illnesses that comes forward, depression, anxiety, that is playing a bigger role.
So listen, the concerns about that are completely unwarranted.
Good morning, Lobos. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The day after President Donald Trump took office for his second term, staff at Lehman High School in Hays County say they fielded calls from panicked parents. Lehman's student body is mostly Hispanic.
Okay, Jelena. Israel.
Here.
Joseph.
Here.
Okay, and Daphne. Yes, okay.
The U.S. Department of Homeland Security had rescinded a 2011 policy around what's called protected spaces. The point of the policy was to ensure immigration enforcement actions do not occur nor are focused on sensitive locations like schools and churches, except when absolutely necessary.
We saw a lot of fear.
When that protection was gone,
Our immigrant population was scared. We had a lot of teachers have conversations with parents saying, you know, well, we don't know if we want to send our kids.
Data we analyzed from Central Texas school districts with the highest Hispanic populations, like Hayes CISD and Del Valley ISD, shows in the days after the policy change, the attendance dipped. The sudden change might have been due to seasonal illnesses or other factors. The data we obtained did not indicate why. But the drop in attendance at the districts with the most Hispanic students was more prominent than those with lower Hispanic populations, like Eanes ISD and Lake Travis ISD.
Maybe they're going to pick me up as I'm coming through the car line.
In any case, it was short-lived, with attendance bouncing back after a couple of days.
We had to quickly say, hey, that's not the case, or, you know, we're not, I don't know that we could actually, that ICE could actually do that, or that they had the manpower to do that.
Months later, Hayes CISD leaders haven't seen a raid on campus. The more present concern for staff, like Counselor Jessica Salcido, is what will happen to students' families while they're at school, as immigration officials work to deport more people living in the U.S. illegally.
I have a student that his mom was deported. Again, he was at school, got home, and she was gone. It was really sad. It was really sad. I think for me, because of my position, is the mental health of these kids. That is my concern. I could see it just tumbling, you know, and so in every which way. They want to go home knowing that their parents are going to be there, that they're going to be able to have dinner, that they're going to be able to take them in at night, that they're going to be there when they wake up in the morning.
In San Antonio, Viridiana Carrizales runs M Schools, a nonprofit focused on helping undocumented students in Texas and across the country navigate public schools. Once an undocumented student herself, she says she's received calls from families wanting to withdraw their students over fear of deportation.
This is one of the text messages that I've received. I wanted to ask you if you know of a school online that I can enroll my daughter. She's in 8th grade. With all that is happening right now with immigration, we're really afraid, and I want to take her out of school. One of the things that I told them is that in many ways, our children are more protected in school than they are at home. Because if immigration comes to the school, there's a protocol, and they're going to be speaking with attorneys in the school district. When they come to our home, they're going to be speaking with us. That also instilled a sense of urgency for us to make sure that schools, in fact, had those protocols in place. Because I couldn't tell a family, your student is safe at school, if I knew that the school has not taken the necessary steps to make that true.
School districts like Hayes and Austin ISD have published their policies explaining how they will handle ICE if agents come to their campuses. But not all districts in the state have taken a public and proactive approach on the potential for ICE to enter their schools.
ICE raids have no place in our Texas schools.
Since the federal policy change, State Representative Ramon Romero with the Mexican American Legislative Caucus has been pushing for the Texas Education Agency to issue guidance for all school districts.
Commissioner Morath, respond to our letter and let us know how you too are working to protect our Texas kids.
In response, Texas Education Commissioner Mike Morath wrote back, saying the state expects school districts to follow the law, including maintaining secure facilities and not allowing visitors without a legitimate reason to be on campus.
This is the most vague, simple response. Talk to your own administrators. They have general counsel.
Morath also said campus personnel must not impede federal officials.
Well, with what component? If they have a warrant, or just simply comply with whatever their actions are.
TEA declined our interview request, but in an email, the agency said it provided the same guidance to the districts that asked.
Normally, we take all the jobs we can.
Yvonne and Mario say they came to Austin 25 years ago to escape violence, find work, and build a better life. Today, she's a cleaner. He's in construction.
My kids, they don't even know Mexico, so we feel this is our country.
We met this husband and wife through the Workers' Defense Project, a group fighting to improve working conditions. They wanted us to know their struggle. Low pay, taking whatever jobs are available on a given day, is a common story.
Yes, a lot of people, they have a fear right now.
Worried about deportations, they asked us to only use their first names and would not share their immigration status.
That is my fear because they are going to move the stability we already have.
The latest figures from the American Immigration Council in 2023 show around a quarter of Texas's skilled laborers and 17% of agricultural workers were undocumented. They are among the state's estimated 2 million undocumented immigrants who generated, according to the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy, nearly $5 billion in state and local taxes in 2022.
Deportation efforts are giving a lot of our business leaders headaches, keeping a lot of folks up at night because a big portion of our economy is really reliant on undocumented workers.
What's going to happen if everybody disappears? Nobody's going to clean your building. Nobody's going to clean your house.
Cosa que uno no hace, uno quiere.
The construction companies, they are going to broke because the most of the immigrants employees, they are the hard workers.
Are many of the construction workers that you are with, are they undocumented, most of them?
Yeah.
The exact numbers today, however, are hard to know. The last time the Texas Comptroller's Office studied the economic impact of deportations was in 2006, when George W. Bush was president. It found losing 1.4 million workers then would have created a loss of nearly $18 billion in gross state product and shrunk the Texas economy for years. The issue hasn't been studied since, but this legislative session, Republican state lawmakers have called for a study on the economic impact of illegal immigration to the state.
We don't have data, and I'm just using cowboy logic. What I see every day.
Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller oversees farming and keeps his ties to the Trump administration front and center. Like the president, he supports deportations.
Do you think that the ongoing deportation efforts will have an impact on Texas's economy?
Well, we've been doing this since January, and so far they haven't had any impact. Right now, the main focus is getting rid of the bad guys.
This eighth-generation Texas farmer and rancher says automation is also decreasing the need to hire immigrants when it comes to agriculture jobs.
People still think of a farmer as bib overalls and a straw hat chewing on a piece of hay, but we're not that anymore. We're agriculture 3.0. We have cows that milk themselves by robotic milkers. We have autonomous tractors that drive themselves. We used to use a lot of illegal labor at one time. We don't do that so much anymore.
Have you ever hired an illegal worker?
I have, years and years ago, yes.
What was the reasoning for it at the time?
I couldn't get any help. You couldn't get any help to get the crop in.
Later, Miller clarified,
I never knowingly hired an illegal.
That point, knowingly, is key to enforcing a federal law that makes it illegal to hire undocumented workers. And our review found employers who risk violating that law are rarely prosecuted. According to the last 4 years of Immigration and Customs Enforcement data on labor exploitation, there have been only 84 management-level indictments nationwide, among the 3,100 total cases initiated. A decade ago, ICE told Congress its focus was employers committing egregious violations dealing with critical infrastructure.
IDE, hell no! Donald Trump has got enough!
Now, a sign of possible change here in Texas. In February, agents raided this border area bakery, charging 2 owners with harboring immigrants who are in the country illegally.
This is a unique, different case from what we usually see.
Federal law prohibits any employer today from hiring an illegal alien.
States have little authority to enforce immigration law, but some can strip a business's license. In 2009, then Republican Senator Dan Patrick filed a bill to attempt that in Texas if a company was caught hiring undocumented workers and avoiding state taxes by paying cash under the table.
Some of those employers might consider it simply a cost of business to operate illegally, so that they may avoid necessary taxes like unemployment insurance.
That bill never made it out of committee, and Patrick, now Lieutenant Governor, didn't respond to our interview request, asking why he hasn't revisited the proposal in the years since.
We don't see CEOs round up. You see workers being rounded up.
We have our work cut out for us this session.
Democratic State Representative Armando Wiley, the son of a Mexican immigrant, says he takes deportations and the uneven enforcement we uncovered personal.
Those folks would not be able to earn those high incomes without the sweat and the tears and the blood and sometimes the lives, particularly in construction, than the folks that are working on a daily basis.
We built Texas! We built Texas! We built Texas!
Mi nombre es Eva Marroquín.
This legislative session, workers like Eva Marroquín are speaking out against what they describe as harsh conditions in dangerous heat, sometimes for little or no pay. A construction site cleaner, she wouldn't elaborate, but says she's here legally. She worries about those who aren't and the jobs they'll leave behind.
The Texas economy is going to collapse. The workforce is going to see a huge dip in the construction industry, and because it is booming and it's so dynamic, it's really going to see the impact very quickly.
Inside this Houston area home, there are small touches of Venezuela.
My brother, and well, myself, my mom.
But when Diego thinks of his home country,
it was a good life that I had when I was a kid.
He thinks of two different places.
The country that I was born in and raised.
Where he grew up, graduated from medical school, and became a doctor. But eventually,
that country didn't exist any longer. It didn't exist in every single way possible.
In 1999, the president of Venezuela began making major changes, overseeing a new constitution and using billions of dollars in oil money to fund government-run initiatives such as public housing and health clinics. By the late 2000s, economic growth stalled. A global drop in oil prices, along with accusations of government mismanagement and even corruption growing into the next presidency, pushed the country into a political and economic crisis, still plaguing it today.
You kind of become sort of a foreigner in your own country.
All the while, Diego's father worked with the political opposition. In 2014, while Diego was furthering his medical training on a temporary visa in Germany, he got a call that changed his life.
Out of the blue, your dad calls you and tells you, look, I got to flee because they were going to put me in military prison. I am a terrorist in the eyes of the Venezuelan state.
He said anyone connected to his father could be in danger.
So, what are you gonna do? I said, okay, well, I cannot go back there. I had a limited visa in Germany, and there was no place for me to go back to.
Eventually, he connected with a relative in the United States. He says he started with a temporary visa and eventually applied for asylum. Then, he says he began waiting to present his case to the U.S. government.
And, well, that never happened.
He's now one of nearly 1.5 million people across the U.S. seeking asylum with a pending case, according to federal data from fiscal year 2024.
It's very possible that the information and that the evidence in their case has grown stale. It's also possible that there could be changed circumstances in their country of origin. However, at this point, they've now established their lives here and have been living here for a decade, right?
Laura Flores-Dixit with American Gateways works to help people with affirmative asylum claims, meaning the U.S. government has not begun a removal case against them, and those with defensive claims, meaning their case has landed in immigration court. For years, the number of pending immigration cases nationwide has climbed from less than 500,000 cases a decade ago to a record high of 3.7 million in 2024. So far this year, the backlog has dropped just a bit, sitting at over 3.6 million. That's according to the Transactional Records Access Clearinghouse, a nonprofit organization at Syracuse University collecting and analyzing government records. Around 500,000 of those cases are in Texas, the state with the second largest backlog in the country after Florida.
Just at levels we've never seen before.
We spent a day inside Austin immigration attorney Mark Kinsler's busy law office, where children's toys, books, and motivational quotes fill the lobby, trying to ease clients' growing concerns about the recent heightened focus on deportation. He says it's hard to predict how the backlog will impact his clients from case to case.
So I have people waiting 10 years, and also people are going to go next week. And so it's really the arbitrariness and sort of it's very chaotic. There's no real rhyme or reason to it.